is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Tour Life. We took a little week off. We were both traveling for different reasons, but me and Yuli are back. The whole gang's back. We got Gary and Mike tonight as well. And as the title says, the PDGA has some explaining to do. Also, not off the hook, though. Yuli might have some explaining thing to do. He goes after Gary on the King of the Hill. I might be going after Yuli tonight, folks. So buckle up. It should be a good show. I'm excited. Whenever their PDGA gets their little grimy hands on things in disc golf, you know I'm going to bring it. It's going to be fun. Yuli, how's it going, brother? Welcome
It's
back.
good. It's good, man. It's good to be back in the States. Got back late last night. Man, brutal travel day. 8.5 hours to New York, New York to Seattle, 6.5. Got in late. Had to wake up at 7 a.m. or something for the Joe Mez practice round. It's like an hour away. But I feel good, man. No jet lag, which is awesome, and just excited to be back on tour life.
Do you want to know the secrets of travel? Because I've discovered the secrets of
No,
travel.
no, I think I nailed it. I think I've nailed it.
You sure?
I feel great. You don't understand. I feel great. Two
How'd you
practice
feel?
rounds today.
How'd you feel when you went out there? Going
Pretty
that way?
good. Pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, so you might have the secrets. Okay, for those that don't know the secrets of travel, the secrets of travel is cruising, guys. Cruising. Because you just slowly go over time zones. You just slowly get acclimated to time zones, just very slowly. So check it out. We just got back from another cruise. We're addicted, Yuli. It's official. We're addicted. I booked 2 more cruises when I got back. We're going on a ship that's like brand new. It's like a city. There's like 10,000 people on the ship. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be wild. So we are addicted to cruises. It's been really, really fun, actually. We've been having a blast. Posted a couple videos this week, too. You might have to try this. Go to a
Okay.
course. It's the Mulligan Challenge. You can't move on to the next hole until you birdie every hole. So you have to birdie, and then you can move on to the next hole. But the trick is you can't advance to your disc. You can't say like, oh, let me go see if that's a good tee shot and then decide whether or not you're going to take a mulligan. Like you have to decide right after your throw whether you're taking a mulligan. I think I did it on maybe the worst course possible because there was one hole. It required like an insane forehand roller, like it required a once in a lifetime forehand roller, and then like 150 foot through a tree forehand throw in. That was the only way I could birdie that hole. I was on that hole for like over an hour. Holy smokes. It was, but yeah, go to a course.
That sounds
Maybe
awesome, actually.
go to a course and try it. It's really, really fun. And obviously, too, like if you do the it's a good strategy. Like, okay, do I want to take that 45 footer, 50 footer for birdie? Or do I think I can, throw a better shot and get off this hole quicker? So it's a fun strategy of when to take it. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. Also, go check out Yuli's video with Ezra. A lot of people complimenting you guys. They like that little combo you guys got going on. So check. Did you guys do front 9, back 9?
We did. Yeah. So Ezra did the front 9. I did the back 9. And it was awesome. We had a blast. We both got there, same day of travel. So we were a little gassed, but plenty of energy. And Ezra's always fun to collab with.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna jump into it because we have a lot to discuss. I want to get to the new PDGA rules, but let's go over a little bit of a review. Konopiste was this weekend. Yuli, thoughts? Obviously a very tough trip for some people that decided to go out there. The field was great on the European side, not so much on the American side. A lot of people kind of stayed back because it was, like you said, tough on the travel. You travel out there, you play, now you travel back, and now you got the Northwest Disc Golf Championship out in Portland this upcoming weekend. So what were your thoughts on the tournament over there?
The tournament was great. Course soft for sure. A lot of great courses from back in the day have just gotten a little softer,
Yeah.
but it's just like anything. It's a different challenge. It's a birdie or die type of challenge. The course is beautiful. I mean, Prague is amazing. It's a great destination trip, I would say for sure. I hadn't been there since 2018, and I think when I was traveling back in 2018, it was all disc golf. This time it was amazing because I got to go with my older sister. She came with me, so it was
Oh,
like
awesome.
kind of a vacation slash disc golf trip for me. And yeah, we had a blast. We went and saw Prague. We went to a few sites and destinations, and it was great. The disc golf was okay. I came out of the gates really slow. I got into trouble on a few holes that you could just can't take bogeys out there, and they kind of bit me. And I didn't have my best stuff. Final round, I played okay and ended up coming back and getting in the cash. I took like 34th place, which was okay. It was worth it for sure going over there. I got a clinic in, um, a meet and greet, and so the people out there were awesome, and a lot of people played good. So yeah,
Yeah, it was more than just the tournament, right? Like it was like you were going over there and
yeah,
you got a lot of other stuff done to make it worthwhile,
yes,
which is awesome. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, looking at the scores here, if you shoot 13 under all 3 rounds, you don't win this tournament. So is the course soft? Obviously, yes. When you're having the winner who did play really well, Mari did play really well. He beat the field by 6. So Laurie Lettinen came in second. And Mari Vilma, he's a guy that I remember watching. I want to say I watched a lot when Paul went over there and was playing in those tournaments, but I think I watched him even before that kind of jump onto the scene because he was the one guy that was really like, the Europeans that were coming over to the States and starting to play over here. When they went back, he was the one that was like competing mostly with those guys. And did you ever get a chance to talk to him, catch up with him? Like any thoughts on whether or not you think he's going to come over to the States and play some over here?
I didn't get a lot of time to talk to anybody. It was on the course and then gone and doing some stuff with my sister. It was more like I said, a family trip than anything. But I mean, obviously, he's been on the radar for a long time.
Very skilled.
Yeah, people over there talk very highly of him. And was I surprised? Not at all. Not at all. I mean, he just go watch the coverage. He's absolutely shredded. But back to the course about 13, 14, 13. That's kind of like the scores you got to shoot. If you go back to 2018 when Eagle won, he shot 16, 16. 14, 12 or something, 50 something under par for 4 rounds. Oh, like it's just a place where you can miss. And uh I think there's a lot of room for them to, if they wanted to get everybody over there and make it a better tournament. I think there's a lot of room to put out of bounds and stretch it out a little bit and make it a lot tougher and
Mm,
more challenging. But I mean, for what it is, I don't mind tournaments like that. I've said that before on the
yep.
on the podcast that I like tournaments that have that birdie or die type feeling, and I think there's a place for it on tour. I don't think it's every weekend. I don't think it should be an elite series or a major or anything, but those tournaments are fine.
Yeah, it's a run and gun. I'm with you on that. I like it definitely more for a 3 round tournament than 4
Yeah,
because now you're starting to talk about people shooting like the 50 unders, and that's just wacky. The dude didn't have a single bogey though. So if you're
yeah,
talking about like softness, that just kind of goes to show you it's a combination, obviously playing well, but if you're playing 54 holes on a difficult course, you're going to bogey at least once. So it was a soft course, different kind of test. Just rolling down the leaderboard here. Like I said, I mentioned before, Laurie Lettinen, who doesn't tour nearly as much, I want to say, as he used to in the States. I think there was one year where he almost went to like every event. I don't see him too much. This Nestori kid, this kid can launch the disc. I
yeah,
remember seeing
yeah.
him at the European Open a few years back. Pretty young kid too, if I remember. I don't know if he's over 20 now. It's tough. Some of these European guys, they all look like the same age. I don't know if that's like a okay thing to say, but I'm going to say it. Vino had a decent tournament, finishing in the top 5. And you got to scroll all the way down to. Oh, geez, I'm scoring way more than I thought. James Conrad, is that right? Where's Ezra? Did Ezra slip that much? Oh, Ezra might have
Yeah,
had it.
yeah. Yeah, he
Ugh.
ended up tying with me actually.
Oh, he slipped really bad. Okay, well, James Conrad was the highest finishing place for an American at tied for 29th. So shooting 20 under par. There you are, Yuli. Yeah, great final round, shooting 10 under there, jumping you up 22 spots. We do have to talk about Ezzy, though. We do have to talk about him a little bit. I feel like he's very close, and you got to play a practice round with him, so maybe you can talk a little bit about this. I feel like he's the closest he's ever been for that breakthrough. He hasn't broken through yet, but I feel like he's the closest he's ever been. What are your thoughts on it? Because it seems like we have now seen back-to-back tournaments where he's put himself in a position to win, or at least in a position to finish well, and he kind of has just had a sputtering final round. So what are your take on it, since you did get a practice round in with him?
Oh, I think you're right. I think he's really close. The thing with him is he's become such an elite putter, which to me is the missing link in being able to finish tournaments. Um, I think he's going to keep getting himself in positions, and we've seen him to do that for the last few years. But there's something different about the putting stroke to me that down the stretch, I'm not afraid that he's going to miss like a 25 footer, because of the nerves or something. I think it's to that level. And if he needs to, he can pick one up from 80. Like
Yeah.
he's dropping them from deep. And those are that's that kind of glue that holds you together down the stretch of big tournaments. I mean, we talk about it with Anthony for the longest time. Like he would just slip up from that 25 to 30-foot range. And that's ultimately what kept him from winning big tournaments. Um, and Ezra, I feel like he's getting better at that. And it's just, you can't teach somebody how to win, unfortunately, because you have to learn what your body's doing when you get under pressure. And then, Ezra's like a great student of the game too. His game's come a long ways. He's got a bigger forehand now. He's getting more consistent, I think, with like that 250-foot range of nice soft touch going into greens. And those are the little things that you have to do down the stretch. Like you can't let those leak. And then if you do, you got to be able to knock down the 40, 45 footer. And he's got those things. So yeah, I mean, it's just a waiting game with him. We talk about a lot of players. I think I put him in that category, Gavin Rathbun in the category, um, as people that were just kind of waiting for them to have that breakthrough tournament and finally get the job done.
Yeah, I think with him, he's not someone that I would put in the same category as some other guys that maybe they break through and get a win, and then we probably don't really ever see them get another win. Like I think he's someone that his skill level is especially on certain aspects. Like I was very amazed to see how he did out at shoot, I just forget where was the last play. It wasn't Seattle. What is it called?
The Cascade Challenge.
Yeah, but what's the city? Shelton. Out at Shelton. Like I was very impressed with his performance there, because in the past, that's a course where me and him show up and he's literally telling me like this is a course for my game.
Yeah.
Right. And so he's definitely made those adjustments to where now he feels confident on any course, clearly, whether it's in the open or a tightly wooded one like Cascade was. And I think he's someone that if we see a breakthrough and he gets a win, I could see him rattling off another win in the same season potentially, where some of these other guys, maybe a lot of stuff has to go for them.
Yeah.
And, they have to kind of catch lightning in a bottle, and then we don't really see from them again. So,
yeah, I think there's two guys that come to mind where you're exactly right. Like they have the full package. It's just really honing in those skills and being able to have the breakthrough, understand they can do it, and it's him and Goose. I think that they have just the skill level is too high, and it's just once they do it, that pressure's kind of off of them, and a lot like Anthony, to where the pressure gets off of them, and then they can kind of contend a lot more.
I think Goose needs to fix his putt, though. I haven't
Oh,
seen him.
absolutely,
I haven't
absolutely.
I haven't seen him, but I think that's the thing with Goose is he's got to get a more consistent putt, because off the tee he's literally always towards the top as far as strokes gained off the tee. A little bit of a disappointment here, Niklas. Niklas finishing 7th place. I mean, a top 10 is a top 10, but in this field, this was not the deepest of fields like we talked about before. There was only a handful of U.S. players coming over. And a tournament like this, I think we would have liked to have seen Niklas kind of contend. I still think he is a top 5 player in the world right now, but he's starting to slip. He's definitely starting to slip. I don't know what's going on. He's had a couple kind of, if I go and check his last couple finishes, he finished 28th at Cascade, 7th at Konopiste. And then if you go back, the last one, because I'm not counting Masters Cup because that's off tour, 21st at Champions Cup. So he's had kind of like 3 tournaments in a row that's been unlike him, I would say, right? After coming off of back-to-back wins. So I don't know. Is he just a type of player that he either has it that week and he's going to be able to contend for the win, or he just doesn't have it and he's going to be, in the 20s? Is that who he is?
No, I think with him it's a level up now, and we've seen it with Anthony as well, to where he drops off and you don't see him for a while. And I think for both of them, I don't care what they do. They're going to get wins here and there. They've proven that. That's just what's going to happen. What I want to see from those 2 guys is what are they going to do at the majors?
Yeah.
And I think that's the place where we need to start judging those guys.
That's fair. On the FPO side, no one from the States made the trip across the pond. So we have pretty much a full European field. And when you have a full European field and Kristen Lott is in the field, it's almost a done deal. I would love to see the statistics of how many times she has lost a European event with just Europeans, like no Americans. I would love to see that. I don't know when the last time she's lost probably one of these. She ends up winning. She kind of started slow a little bit, actually. I think she was 3 shots off the lead after the first round, but ended up winning by 4 over Silva, who also seems to be someone in the mix, Yuli. And we've talked about Silva's skill set numerous times on this podcast. I think, like what you just said about those guys, I think seeing what Silva does in the majors coming up is going to be very, very interesting, because that's the quickest way to jumpstart your career, is if you're struggling to just get a win over someone and all of a sudden you win on at a major. Now, some people that weren't here, Evelina wasn't here. I don't know where she was. Henna wasn't here either. So it's been a while, Yuli, since I feel like we've seen a full FPO field.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to see one again until everyone goes over there for the majors. So we're going to be chilling, waiting for some FPO magic to go down. But also big shout out to Mari, becomes the first ever Estonian MPO player to win on the Elite Series event. So first time ever. So shout out to him on that. Great accomplishment. Let's quickly go over the Northwest Disc Golf Championship. Now, I'm just going to go out there and say I like the Portland Open. I like the sound of that. I don't know how I feel about the Northwest Disc Golf Championship. To me, I get it. You're playing 2 different courses now. You're going Milo and Glendavere, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the name. It probably doesn't matter. People probably don't care, but I'm just going to say it. Not a fan of the name. But we are going to Milo and we are going to Glendavere this year. So we are mixing it up 2 and 2 to be a 4-round tournament. Thoughts on this weekend's tournament, Yuli? Did we lose Yuli? We might have lost him. Oh, boy. All right. Well, I'm going to go. Maybe we can reconnect with Yuli. I'll go solo dolo here. If we can pull up this graphic, Mike, of the event schedule, I think this is really cool. We kind of talked about this a while ago on the podcast, that the Disc Golf Pro Tour needs to start making it to where there's stuff going on leading into these events. Something that they can promote, something that they can push content at the course, something to get people excited about the events. And we're starting to see that more and more, which I absolutely love. So the Disc Golf Pro Tour put out the event schedule, this beautiful kind of PDF form that you can kind of go see on their website. I don't know if they've posted this anywhere, but I'll kind of quickly go through this. So they've got starting on Monday, May 26th, call it the Beaver State Open. Starting on Monday, May 26th, they've got the Central Coast Disc Golf Champs vs. Chumps at 3 p.m. playing on Glendoveer East. I think that's available to watch. It looks like it's also on Central Coast Disc Golf as well. Then on May 27th, we have a Jomez practice round. That's starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. They also have a free clinic, it looks like, with Colt Montgomery and Kona Montgomery. That's from 3 to 5. And then they have a Charity Glow Pro-Am later on at Glendoveer as well. Then on Wednesday, we have our live press conference. We have an expo and opening ceremony. So I believe there's a handful of pros that will be at this expo and opening ceremony. I'm sure, photos, autographs, that type of thing to kind of get the event going. And then we've got the event starting on Thursday through Friday. It looks like you can also have some flex C tiers. So if you want to go out and play the Glendoveer courses, you can do the East course in the morning and the West course in the evening. There's a fly mark going on, which is just kind of typical on Saturday. But looking at this, I got to say, I like the effort that the Disc Golf Pro Tour is putting in to where there's actually events. There's actually things to do leading up to the event, during the event. And I think this all points to higher ticket sales, more interest, more people wanting to go out and watch the tournament. So I am a big fan of that. Yuli, I don't know where you last heard me.
No, you had asked me what I thought about the what I thought about the tournament. I think it's one of the best that we have. The one thing I will say I don't like, I love Milo, I love Glendoveer, but I don't like the travel in between. So
What
there's
is the travel?
40 minutes, 40 minutes. It's not the worst thing. I think this is more of a selfish thing because I'm by Milo and I got the 50-minute drive to go to my commentary gig. So that's tough for me at night. Um, so I don't think I could have even figured out a way to stay close enough, like right in the middle. That's pretty tough. But the courses are so good it doesn't matter. Like the courses are good. They did a couple changes at Glendoveer. They tightened in some OB. They moved a couple pins back, so it's even going to be a little tougher, I think. Uh, but like you were saying with the events the whole entire week, if you're looking for a disc golf destination, this is the one. So much stuff to do. I mean, we had the live practice round today for Jomez to where you could buy tickets and come out, and we had probably 70 people there, which was awesome early this morning. The disc golf expo, the clinics, all of those things happening. I mean, yeah, there's tons of stuff that you can do, and you're just gonna get disc golf out of your mind out here.
Yeah, and hopefully we just get to see more of that. Hopefully this is kind of a blueprint and they can see what works, what people like, what people don't like, and decide what they're going to change for future events. I think building stuff like this around the event is very, very good. I'm with you on the distance between the events is kind of weird. I'm with you on that. It feels like it needs to be almost like 15 to 20 minutes apart. And it's like, okay, one tournament, or the two courses need to be like 2 hours apart. And then it's okay. We can do two events. We can do one at Portland or Glendoveer and then one at Milo, because it is too close to, in my opinion, I think it's too close to have two events back to back there. You're going to be pulling from the same kind of audience. And I think it's going to be tough to, you would rather just have one big tournament than two smaller tournaments.
I have a new pet peeve for the Pro Tour. I don't think it's
got?
new. It's just back-to-back tournaments. Like you got to give us a field to warm up in, man. This net thing is crazy. I mean, Cascade, you're warming up into a net 18 feet away from the first tee. That's your warm up. We got to do better. We got to have at least like a 300-foot field. You got to be able to throw your shots and see what's going on. I mean, that's just, to me, that's kind of silly. It's a small pet peeve and it's fine. But I mean, this has been I'm pretty sure it happened in Florida for the first event of the year. There's nowhere to warm up. You throw
Oh,
into a net,
yeah.
cascade, and yeah, just give us a field. Find even if we have to shuttle us from a place to actually warm up to an elite event. Like, I don't know. It's like
It
it's
is
just it's kind of crazy to me, dude. It's kind of crazy that
it's a different
that
tournament. It is a different tournament because you
it's
are
not.
kind of having to figure out the first couple holes how you're throwing that
It's
day.
so silly to me. It's so silly because you're not gonna see crisp off outright out the gate. You just won't see it. Like you're thrown into a net, dude, 10 feet in front of you. Imagine like the PGA Tour. They're like, all right, here's a simulator. Like, you guys, all right, go get them.
Yeah,
Like
I when I was playing Bethpage Black before they had the PGA Championships out there, I think my option of warming up was a net. I think that was my only option, and I was just like, nah, I'm good. I'll just take a couple practice swings and let's go. Because it's the same thing in golf. Like you definitely would like to see the flight of the ball or the
well,
flight of your disc before you go
it's
out
the
there.
distances, Brody. It's the distances that you need to get kind of locked down. Like you can throw it, you have no clue how far it's going, when it's fading. I don't know, it might just be for me that from day to day my disc is, that late flip is a different distance. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I might be
no,
one of the
you're
only guys that's
no,
like I can't stand this, but I
I
I
mean,
think
it's
it's
a fair
crazy.
playing field. That is the thing. Is a fair playing field, right? Like everyone's warming up under the same conditions.
You
So that
you
is
could drive, and I tried to drive like at Cascade and look for like a baseball field or something, couldn't find nothing.
yeah, we've done me and Ezra have done that before at different events. Memorial, when Memorial was happening and you had to play Fountain Hills, you would go and drive to like a little field that was, 10 minutes away or something. So we definitely have done that at certain events. But yes, there are some where it's like there's really nothing. And if you warm up 30 minutes away from where you
That's
like
not, yeah.
by the time you get there, you're like, okay, my warm up, I need a
Anyways,
re-warm up.
yeah, I
It's a
got
good
a
pet
little off
peeve.
track, but
It's
it's
a
a
good
pet peeve.
it's a good pet peeve. I like it. A place that has a driving range, New London. Shout out, new course. Go check out the video on Foundation Disc Golf. They're playing it for the first time. If you want to see where the Disc Golf Tour Championships going down, that will be the course, New London. So,
Okay.
all right, let's jump into it. Oh, coming into this week, I was like, man, what are we going to talk about? Are we talking about the Go Throw event? Nah. We're going to talk about this kayak challenge with Gannon winning. Nah. We're going to talk about the PDGA. The PDGA said, let's give them something to talk about. Okay. First thing, Yuli, we have to talk about. I want to get your initial reaction. And we're going to bring Gary in here for some of his takes on this. And Mike, please jump in too if you're feeling it. Because I think a lot of people have a lot to say. And I have a lot to say, but I want you guys to talk first. Because I think once I get going, I might not know how to stop Yuli. Because it's the PGA, you know how it is. The way they announce these new rules, where they're not out yet. There's apparently still some rules that are out there that have not been announced. They announced some, and we will go over those, the ones they announced. But the official announcement comes out tomorrow with all the rules, which I thought was very interesting the day they picked, Wednesday. Even though they went on a podcast on Monday, Staggered Stance. I'm assuming they'll probably go on the Upshot tonight. And I'm guessing they're also probably, or sorry, not tonight, Upshot, but I'm assuming they'll go on the Upshot. And I probably put a lot of money that they're going to be on Smashbox. They did, I guess, mention that they were like reaching out to see, to get to the masses. What are your thoughts on that? On this new way of them announcing something was going on podcasts and discussing it.
I mean, any way to get more people to listen to whatever the rules are. I mean, they have the PDGA should just be telling the tournament directors and putting it on their website, and it's like should be a big deal. So I mean, you could go on. podcasts and announce. I'm guessing they didn't reach out to us.
No, I'm not shocked by that. Come on.
No.
I mean, if you look at the 3 podcasts that they're going to go on, my guess, those are all 3 podcasts that all have some sort of affiliation connection with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, right?
Yeah.
There's something along the lines of where it's buddy system. There's going to be probably no pushback, no questions asked. And it's the PDGA. They're not going to. It's also the guy Robert Leonard. That was the guy that like I literally was going after in a way at Worlds because he just wasn't doing anything. And when I was telling him that other people weren't doing anything, he just could care less when it came to pace of play, when it came to all that, which funny enough, a lot of these are going to be very interesting for pace of play. So with that being said, I'll say this. I'll go out right here. I don't really care that the PGA didn't reach out to us. I know there was others, maybe some other podcasts that were like a little butthurt. I know like Disc Golf Media. Disc Golf World, I believe. They do a phenomenal job of at least like whether you like their content or not, they do a great job of giving you a 10-minute, 15-minute video of disc golf news. They're probably a little bit butthurt not to have like the PDGA like, hey, we want to go on your podcast. I'm not at all because quite frankly, I don't really care all that much. It's just rules. It's like this could have easily been just a Twitter post of, hey, these are the new rules.
We're going to talk about it anyway.
And we're going to talk. Exactly. The only reason that I would want them to come on would be for me. Could have been an email. Exactly. The only reason I would want them to come on is not because like, oh, we have exclusive PDGA rules announcement. Like, no one cares. It would be the pushback. It would be like, why are you doing this? Is this really going to solve the problem? This doesn't make sense. I'd want like explanations on stuff. It wouldn't necessarily be, I want them on because everyone's going to tune into our. No one really cares. It's not that big of a deal, and this is only affecting the Pro Tour. This isn't affecting pretty much anyone that plays disc golf outside of the Pro Tour. Obviously, if you're watching, whatever. But with that being said, I'm going to go through some of this, and Gary, you can come on and fill in some of the blanks. Was it correct? This I felt was very interesting. They said that this process started 7 to 8 months ago. Do you have any information on that since you are part of the players?
Yeah, I would need to hear the rules that get changed because we definitely discuss a lot of the rules changes and we give our opinion and then it has to go through a board or I think and a bunch of different avenues.
So usually how professional sports organizations go is as soon as the off season happens, they start saying, okay, what the heck do we need to change? What the heck do we need to work on? What do we need to do? And then they get that all done before the season starts. So everyone knows going into the season, this is what it's going to be like. Now, there are exceptions. There have been exceptions of where rule changes have changed mid-season, but that's the minority. And a lot of times that's like when something happens where they're like, oh my God, we had no idea about this. We need to fix this now. These rule changes, Julian, we're going to get to them. Like these have been around for as long as I know. Like the thing that they're solving or fixing, these aren't like brand new things that are a problem. These are things that have been around forever. So very interesting that, almost midway through the season that they decided, okay, these are rule changes that are, I'm assuming, do we know if these are implemented for like this weekend, Gary or Yuli?
No. These are just proposals that go into like a review period where now everyone's going to be able to comment on, do they like them, what they don't like about them. And then they'll be over the off season implemented for next season. So like last year, they did the same thing. They typically always put these out on the website. Everyone goes in, or at least the people who care to go in and read them. And they actually said there are some rules that last year there was an overwhelming group of people who said they didn't like it. So it got completely removed altogether, but it's back this year. So that's the whole play here.
And so even though these are rules for the Pro Tour,
so it is for the off season. So
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So these aren't they're announced, I guess, and proposed, but they aren't in effect.
That makes
And
sense.
but the thing that doesn't make sense if PDGA members can basically say, "Hey, I don't like this rule," and then change it. Right? Or is it just Pro Tour? Are they just listening to
No,
what Pro Tour players?
it's a combination of a number of things based on what he was saying. They brought in a group of players. They brought in key tournament directors around the country. They even brought in somebody who they said plays like some of the most events of most PDGA members to get his perspective. But the point is, they put it out for public opinion because they want the larger perspective of everybody out there, hoping that they'll get comment one way or another. Because the rules aren't just for the pro field; they're also they affect all the amateurs down. Now, they did have designated rules in this particular release saying it is for this is for elite series and majors only.
Gotcha.
And then there's also rules that are elite series and majors only, MPO and FPO. So you're not going to see it like at majors that involve like youth divisions and stuff like that.
I'm going to go out on a limb, Yuli. I'm going to say I think sometimes, or I would like to think that the people that are in charge of running an organization, running the Pro Tour, I would like to think that they know what's best for the Pro Tour, for the game, than the actual players. I would like to think that. I might be wrong, but I would like to think on the majority of things, the reason why they have their position is they can see a grander scope. They're better at business. They're better at marketing. They're better at the production side. They're better. They have more information behind the scenes of what's going on that I would like to think they would know what would be best. And of course, get input and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people, Yuli, that play on the Pro Tour that their opinions on disc golf would literally send it straight into non-growth, just straight into nothing changing. So I do find that weird that they want everyone to like them. And it's like, sometimes you just have to go out and say, like, this is what we're doing. And people might say, you suck. But like a year or 2 years from now, bigger picture, everyone's gonna be like, oh my gosh, you were such a innovative person. You saw that when no one else saw that. And that's gonna be better. So I don't know. Should we go through the rules here, Yuli? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Let's hear them so I can have more perspective.
Determination calls. That was the first thing I believe they talked about. Determination calls. Throwers' input now is getting removed. So what that means is the Adam Hammis throw at Waco, and he's over there looking at the line and saying whether he thinks he's in or out. He no longer has any input. Now, my question to Gary is, Gary, does this mean he doesn't have a vote, or is he not even allowed to say anything of like, well, guys, I think it hit there and fell back?
Mm-hmm. They indicate that he does not have a vote, but they can't like stop the person from advocating for their position, because they want to try to create a scenario where it doesn't become a 2 versus 2 and it becomes a 3 versus 1, or 2 versus 1 in that particular case. However, if there is a tie for some reason, let's say there's a card with 3 people because maybe you have like a DNF situation, the tie does go to the thrower.
Okay. So, Yuli, thoughts on this? This is going to, like Gary said, this is going to remove ties, right? Because now you're going, for most of the time, you're only going to have 3 people voting. It's going to remove ties. And I thought this was very interesting as well. Robert mentioned that one of the reasons why they changed this rule, Yuli, was the benefit to the player rule was getting widely misunderstood. Most people thought that just means if it's close, it goes to the player, when in fact, benefit to the player means
it's a tie.
If it's a tie, it goes to the player. So instead of changing benefit to the player and making it way more descriptive and people not misunderstanding that, they have now decided it's better to just completely remove the thrower's input. So that way the benefit to the player almost doesn't exist really in this for determination calls. So thoughts here on determination calls, Yuli?
I think it's ridiculous. This is a ridiculous rule, and here's the reason why I think it's ridiculous. The thrower knows more than anybody else. The thrower actually knows. And in golf, we're supposed to police ourselves. It's a gentleman's game. And you should, if you actually think that it hit, the benefit should go to you because you have the most input. Like it's a feel sport. When I throw a shot, I have a good indication that, like, if I lose a disc, of where it is compared to the rest of the card, right? Why do I know that? I know that because I've thrown thousands of shots. I know where my shots go. I know what typically happens at the end of my flight. They don't, and they can't feel that. And so that would be the first thing that I would say is ridiculous. Like, I should have the most input because I threw it, I feel it, I throw the shot, I know where it goes. I'm a professional. So that would be the first thing that I would say, why my initial thought is no, that's absolutely ridiculous. The next thing is benefit goes to the player. We're all used to that as far as the tie goes. It's still the tie. It's still the same rule. If there's a tie, where does it go? The benefit. So they don't get rid of it at all, actually. Um, they're just trying to get rid of it normally. So in a one-off situation, when there's three people, now we'll go revert back to the rule. But for the most part, we're just going to get rid of it completely. That's silly to me. Get rid of it completely to where no, there can't be a tie. Bringing an official in, and your input still doesn't matter. Like, stay consistent across the board. But I do believe that the most the person who has the most information is the thrower. It is. Period.
I think this fixes a very small minority of player on the Pro Tour. There are a handful of guys that, you know, when you play with these people, that when they throw a disc out of bounds, they are going to walk up 10 to 15 to 20 feet farther up, closer to the basket than their disc actually went out. And they are going to force you to have to say, hey, man, I don't think you crossed up there. They're going to do that every time. We know who those players are. It's a small minority. And so you're removing their power from this. However, you are now gaining power to those people that are trying to
Same
chase
people. The
that
same
are,
people.
that are trying to chase someone down, that are trying to say, oh,
No, it
wait
could
a
be
second.
that same player who then you think you went up there and they're like, no, you're way back here,
That's
dude.
what I'm saying. You now are giving them the power. So, because I think Robert did mention something about there's bias, right? Like, if I'm the thrower, I'm going to have bias that my disc crossed.
You should.
The thing is, though, is by removing the throwers things, now you're going to have bias weighted now in the people that are trying to catch you and trying to beat you, because now when it's close, they're probably going to be like, well, I don't want to give it to them. So it's like, it's at the end of the day, dishonest people are going to be dishonest, and this rule doesn't fix dishonesty. Like, it still makes it to where people can be dishonest.
I don't mind the fact. I don't mind that my opinion gets taken away if I'm able to argue for it and give them, like, hey, this is what my disc does. This is what I think it did. And then you can play lawyer in that situation and try to convince the other guys, like, no, like, so it's not the worst thing. It really isn't the worst thing to me. But if they tried to shut you down completely, then that's where I'd be like, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. You know?
Yeah, there's two things I think that are really important here. Number one, I think you already have relationships that are established on tour, and if people were unwilling to call things against their friends before, I don't think this rule changes that per se, especially if you can advocate all the way down the fairway about what you think happened. But I think the real, like, hidden crux of this rule is the caveat that if you abstain from the vote, if you say I don't have an opinion here, you can have a courtesy violation called on you because you have to vote according to this rule. And it makes you wonder, like, at what point does a player sit there and go, well, you need to say, is it in or out? You can't just say, I don't know. So I think the PDG almost is trying to attack or come after the players who walk up to things and go, I don't know, it's too close to tell. And then three of them do that. And then they look at the player who threw and go, I guess it's what you say it is. So they're trying to make players make decisions, but I don't think it's going to change anything.
5 out of 10 times when you have a shot that is close, there's somebody on the card who didn't even watch the shot.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you do?
That's a perfect segue, Yuli, because now this is another thing that the PGA is going to be, I guess, enforcing. I don't know how they're going to enforce this, but they are now, which I guess has always been a courtesy violation, right? Failure to watch your card mates throw has always been a courtesy violation. No one's calling it. No one calls that. I've never seen anyone call that before. And quite frankly, this is probably the worst rule on the Pro Tour. If you want to do this in your C tier flexes and your B tiers and all that, that's fine. On the Pro Tour, I don't think it's the responsibility of players to have to watch every single shot. There's 3 other people on your card. That is an insane amount of time paying attention to other people's throws, especially, I mean, on the tee, sure. Should I be able to stand there and look? Sure. But also, is that now taking away my time of figuring out what to throw?
It is.
Because now when it gets to me, I might now have to take all 30 seconds to figure out what to throw because I was just paying attention to everyone's shot. And also when I'm paying attention to someone's shot, Yuli, guess what I am not doing? I'm having to wait for your disc to completely come to stop, to rest before I even go. That stuff adds up. Now, let's not even talk about the fact when all the discs are on the fairway. And now, I mean, we're going to be playing Portland, Yuli. Some of those fairways are massive. You're going to tell me that someone that is 100 feet left of someone else's on the fairway, that they're going to have a good angle to your shot, even if they are watching? Are you now telling us that we all have to go back to what everyone used to do, which is stand behind everyone that throws and slowly go down the fairway like that? The rounds are going to take 6 hours. So this idea that if you don't watch a player, you can be called a courtesy violation, I don't think anyone's going to call it. But it's crazy. Pace of play is going to go insane. It's going to be awful.
Is an official now going to give you a courtesy violation because they watched you not watch the shot?
That's
the
that.
problem. No, they probably will. That's
one of the 6 officials on the course.
That's the problem.
I just want to hear. I want to hear the first ever. Like, all right, we have a determination call, and someone's like, I wasn't watching, and someone turns and goes, courtesy violation. Because I don't know if it'll ever happen.
It's happened before.
I mean, it's just so rare. And my idea is like, this in turn is a stupid rule. It's one of the worst rules the PDGA has come up with. People should not be having to watch every single person's throw. It's going to insanely slow down pace of play.
Yeah,
insanely. Yeah. Also, shout out to Mad Dog, member for 25 months. That's over 2 years. Wow. Love that. All right, let's go to the next one. This is another thing, pace of play. Hey, we're doing pace of play here. The PDGA, pace of play gods. They have now decided that you have 30 seconds from the tee, the drop zone, and inside circle 2. Okay? 45 seconds for all other throws. Now, they've also changed the wording here. It used to say determine a lie. Like your time starts when you've determined a lie. Apparently, people don't know what determine a lie means, so they've changed it to address the lie. Yuli, you're in these player meetings. Robert literally said that players said that address the lie makes a lot more sense than determines a lie. Please explain to me the difference between determining a lie and addressing a lie. Because apparently Robert Leonard says that the players' council, the players have told him that changing it to address a lie, all of a sudden a light bulb goes off and everyone now, I know when you address a lie.
Yeah, I think it's when you mark your disc or you stand behind your lie.
He gave examples if you'd like.
Yeah. If you go up and you're behind your disc and you take a look forward, that's probably addressing your lie.
Now, what if I do that while you're in the process?
You're not allowed to.
Of throwing.
You're not allowed to. You gotta watch me. Yeah, you gotta watch me.
I have to watch it. I can't address my lie too soon.
But it's not just that. He said it's also it's marking your lie, placing a supporting point behind your lie, doing a pre-shot routine, and now we get fun. Using a rangefinder counts as addressing your lie. Checking the wind counts as addressing your lie, and clearing out the ground of obstacles counts as addressing your lie.
So what this is?
Okay, so all right. So I'm in these council meetings. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, clearing your lie of sticks has never been talked to about ever. So what's happening is we're talking about these rules, okay? They get sent to the PDGA. The PDGA looks at it and then adds their little a bit of flavor in there.
Mm.
Because I've never heard of taking sticks away from my lie as being addressed or checking the wind, because I can check the wind from the tee. Am I addressing my whole lie all the way down the fairway? Am I like
Mhm.
that's yeah, I don't know. That's
So
not something that I would ever write off on in a meeting.
I don't hate the idea that they're saying, hey, if you have a inside a circle 2 putt, if you have a tee shot, if you have a drop zone shot, only 30 seconds. Now, that doesn't change anything because that's literally what the rule was prior. And what they did do, which is something we've talked about, is like, hey, listen, sometimes you're off the fairway. Sometimes you have no idea what gaps you have over there. Sometimes it takes you 15 seconds to walk in to see your disc, another 15 seconds to walk back out to see, like, okay, where should I lay up? Like, it's not always apples to apples. And so they have said, all right, we'll give you 45 seconds. So you get a little bit extra time for all the other shots. Then they did one of the stupidest things. And this goes back to when I think this is close in line with the PDGA coming after me for doing their job and renting out the driving range at Worlds. This is right in line with one of the dumbest things the PGA has done. Time extensions. The fact that we are now making it to where rounds are going to take even longer is insane. The fact that now you can say time, and how long are the time extensions? Are they 45 seconds?
30.
30 seconds. Okay. So the fact that you now can have 45 seconds and then call a time extension, and now you have over a minute. One, that's going to obviously slow down pace of play. But the reasoning for this, I think, is the funniest reasoning of all time. So, Yuli, each player gets two time extensions per round. Okay. You get 2 time extensions per round. If you go over your time, so let's say you have a circle 2 putt and you go over 30 seconds, I have to go up to you and say, Yuli, you didn't call it, but you're using one of your time extensions there. Okay. Now, the players are obligated to do that, by the way. Okay. The funniest thing, Yuli, is this. This rule was changed solely because the players on the council, and I'm hoping this is not you, Yuli, or you have to explain to do. They're saying that they feel more comfortable calling time violations on card mates than calling whatever we had before, like calling like a time violation, time extension. So the way the rule was written and the way they changed the rule is because players now feel more comfortable saying, hey, Yuli, that's going to be a time extension. They feel more comfortable doing that than before just telling someone, hey, you took too long. That's a time violation. Now, the reason why this is so dumb, Yuli, is not only the fact that if you go over your time extension, okay, so let's say you say time extension and you go over the time extension. So now instead of throwing your disc in a minute and 15 seconds, you throw your disc in a minute and 30 seconds. Do you know what happens? You get a little slap on the wrist, Yuli. You get a warning. So not only did they make it to where you can extend your time with a time extension, they also made it to where if you go even farther over that time extension, you get a warning. You have to do that twice for anything of consequence to happen. And what do we know about rules, Yuli? We know when players know, hey, I can do this and it has no effect on me, it's not going to change anything, I'm going to do it up to that line. I'm going to push the boundary as much as possible. So how many people are going to do this? How many people are going to do this knowing at the end of the day, like, oh, I don't even have to call time extension. If I go over my time, someone else has to call it all for me. And then if I go over that, it's a warning. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. This is what makes it the stupidest thing the PGA has ever done. These players that are claiming they feel more comfortable calling a time extension, Guess what happens when you call a second time extension on that person? That means the third time, guess what you have to do? The same thing you weren't comfortable doing in the first place. So nothing has been solved here. All you're doing is you're kicking a rock, or whatever that saying is. Gary, help me. Kicking a rock down the street. What is that saying? Kicking the bucket, kicking the can. You're kicking
great.
You're kicking the can down the street. You're just prolonging the weirdness, the awkwardness that all you little soft pro players out there don't want to hurt any of your van buddies' friends, that you don't want to call them of, hey, bro, you're playing super slow. You don't want to do that. So all you do now is you go time extension, and now you're back right on square one. You're going to have to make that awkward thing. Nothing has been solved. And here's the big kicker of all of it. PDGA, do your job. If you see a problem with pace of play, if you see a problem with players not calling it on other players, guess what you should do? Stop making more rules that players have to inflict on other players. How about you do your job? How about you get in a golf cart? How about you get in a Segway? How about you drive around the course and say, hey, there's a 2-hole gap here. Someone's playing slow. Let's go there and see what's going on. Stop making it on the players. What do you want me to do, PJ? Do you really want me to pull my cell phone out every single time someone is going to throw and start looking at the clock? And then when someone says time extension, do I need to pull my phone out again and make sure they don't go over 45 seconds? Do you know how dumb it is already that pros are walking down fairways looking at the scores on their phone? It's extremely dumb. It looks really, really bad. Now we're going to have everyone just on their phones with the clock running, rolling at all times, because how am I supposed to call time extensions? How am I supposed to call time violations if I don't have my watch going? This makes no sense. PDGA, do your job. You're getting paid. Do your job.
There's going to be a stopwatch in every player's pack for the pros from now on. That's how it's going to work. But the other crazy part is, if you have to call the time extension on a player, there are so many players out there who are going to be like, well, now I have to go through my process again because you've interrupted my focus. It's just it's so silly. But the one thing I want to add on to what you said, Brody, about how they said that they thought this was going to make it easier to call this, is the exact quote that Robert said was that all but one person on the Players Council said that this would make them more comfortable calling time violations and that they would be the champions of the rule and call it themselves. So that's interesting to me.
Okay,
Well,
so
they'll call a time violation, but they won't call the third one that actually matters.
I think we got to look at it on a bigger perspective, because you're looking at it in a very broad state that this is something that's going to happen all the time, and that's just not the case. It doesn't happen all the time. We don't run into these situations all the time, and that's just the way that it is. Okay, there's certain players that actually abuse the time violation all the time, and they still don't get called. The only ones that get called are by the officials anyway, so it is a big problem to where nobody's calling it. How many players have you called, Brody, on a time violation, and you see speed of play and it's your biggest thing? And how many people have you ever called being like, hey, you got to speed it up? This is a warning. Probably 1, 2.
Yeah, probably like 2 to 3.
Okay, 2 to 3 in all the rounds that you do it. So it's, like I said, it's a very broad thing. And how many times have you seen the violation happen?
So the reason why I don't really call it that often is because a lot of times I am one of the fastest players on tour. So we're oftentimes waiting we normally catch the card in front of us. So we're waiting because of, even if I'm playing with a slow player, I kind of do it. Now, my thoughts, my thoughts on the rule, Yuli. I think it's dumb. I think it's dumb that you have a very difficult shot. You have a putt to make the cut. I think it's very dumb for me to jump in and say, Yuli, you went over 30 seconds. I think that's very dumb. That's why I don't do it unless it's really, really bad. But
it's still a problem. If you're not calling it, it's a rule. It's a problem. I don't care if you like it or you don't.
If you're not calling it and you're and you have a 2-hole gap,
thinking of it in a
problem.
Yeah, you're thinking of it in a broad state of like, it's not really a big deal. I don't call it because we catch the people in front of us, but that's part of the problem. You still don't call it. I am actually I actually like the time extension. Okay. I like the time extension because I do think there's times when I'm in the woods and I need to take longer and I feel bad and I have to rush a shot and I should be able to have more time.
Yeah.
Now I've never been called on a time violation ever in my life, and for sure I've gone over. But I think like there's unwritten rules. Oh well, he's not a guy that takes so long. Like I'm not going to call him on this time.
That's going to
Time
happen
violation.
here too, though. That's what I'm saying. This isn't solve the problem, Yuli. That's the thing. Is there's a pace of play problem.
No, it doesn't
This does
solve a
not solve
problem
it.
wide like this. Now, you think a certain way, okay? You think a certain way.
A sane way.
Sure, however you want to word it, you think that way. I know for a fact that if everybody on the board says this will make them more comfortable to say, hey, time violation and call something, then that right there in that instance means that you're getting farther. You're saying it's kicking the can. I don't care. You're one of no. Let me finish. So there's you and one other person on the entire board that says no, this is ridiculous. It won't work. But then there are other people that outnumber you saying, for sure, it'll make me call it. And I will actually do it, which means that there's a broader and more people that are actually going to be more comfortable not stroking somebody. Because here's the next part about it.
Mhm.
I don't want to stroke anybody. You just said I caught the card in front of us. It's not my place. I don't want to stroke anybody. I don't
Yeah,
want to give any
of course.
Okay, so we agree across the entire board, but there's still situations where other people, not myself, okay, so this is coming from somebody who thinks very much like you, but I have to go and I have to think like somebody else, and I have to be like, okay, so why aren't they calling it when they absolutely have to? Well, it's because they don't want confrontation.
Yeah.
They don't want it by them not giving them a stroke and I want the time extension for those situations. Okay, I don't think the time extension is probably ever going to be used in different situations unless it's a windy putt, which I would love a time extension when I get a 90-mile-an-hour headwind all of a sudden and the nice guy took my wind because he actually went over his time and took whatever that nice little calm breeze was. I would like to be able to
Sure.
have a beneficial wind for myself. I love the time extension as far as that goes. But as far as making it easier for other people to call, I think 100 billion% this makes it easier for the rest of the field to call because you're not stroking somebody and you're saying it's a
Well,
slap on the wrist.
let me rebuttal.
Yes.
Let me rebuttal here. Let me rebuttal. First off, you mentioned that if people on this board are claiming that this is going to make them call it more, right? Then it's probably a good thing. These are the same people, Yuli, too, that also claim that addressing a lie is way better than determining a lie. These are the same people. So I don't know how trustworthy these people are. Secondly,
so I would think that I'm pretty trustworthy when it comes to getting things done.
We can agree that right there, addressing a lie and determining a lie, should not be like this light bulb thing. But my point more being is, I think what you're missing is they're eventually going to have to make that call. So that's what I'm saying is, yes, maybe that first time violation's easier. Maybe that second time violation's easier. The third one, you're stroking.
Your hypothetical is coming to the same people. It's the same four people who violate the time. This is going to benefit the rest of the field. Okay, your hypothetical is the same people who are taking that time anyway. They're only going to get called on it. It's not like we have a huge problem of people taking 2 minutes to throw a shot. It's the same guys. We all play at a certain pace for the most part. It's not as far as somebody taking over a minute to throw every single shot. That's not a problem that we have on the tour. It isn't. It's the same guys.
It's a handful
It's
of
the
people.
same. It's a handful of people.
More and more every year, though. It's more and more every year.
I disagree. I disagree with that. I think it's the same guys. I think it's the same guys.
There's more. I think more people are coming on tour that are playing slow. There's definitely more people right now playing slow. I mean, think about it.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem that
it is a problem. Pace of play is really bad.
Pace of play, it's not because people are taking so much time. It's people meandering around and doing other things and playing with their thing and doing this and blah 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 blah.
That's my point.
That's not your point.
My point is this was a stupid rule. My point is they're saying that they think this is going to solve pace of play. That is why they're doing this. People are
don't think so. I think that this is going to solve somebody sitting over a putt for a minute.
Why does it matter?
That's the problem.
If pace of play isn't a problem, Yuli, why is it a problem with someone sitting over a putt for a minute? If pace of play is not a problem,
What are you talking about? Like they're two completely different things, Brody.
The
reason
you don't want
a group playing slow and meandering around the fairway and looking at their disc and trying to choose 35 discs is 100% different than somebody sitting behind their lie and taking a minute to throw a shot with the same disc in their hand.
But if that person is sprinting to their disc and doing all this stuff, even though they're sitting behind their disc for a minute, they are still keeping up with the card in front of them. What is the problem with them doing that? That's my whole thing.
I'm in on that. I'm in on that. But the
problem is pace of play. That's what they're trying to fix with this rule, because it doesn't matter if you're.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's. I think it's a rules violation in a 30-second mark, and it's not a pace of play. There's plenty of other reasons why we have foursomes. Like the round's going to take freaking forever.
Why do we have
two different problems, dude?
Why do we have 30 seconds though? Why do they have a rule that you have to throw in 30 seconds? Why don't they just make it so you can throw whenever you want?
I would love that. I personally said I would love a minute. Give everybody a minute. I would love a minute. The problem is I think personally that the problem is the meandering down the fairway and not getting to your line.
I agree with you.
That's part of the issue. Where the enforcement of the rule creates its own problem. Is how are you going to enforce these violations, which the rule may be a good one, but how do you enforce them in a way that doesn't create more problems? Because now players have to be more attentive to other players' shots and the time it takes. So in the process of enforcing it, will that create its own, will it wash itself?
I think this is a attempt to stop the cupcakes and the Gannon Burrs from putting for over a minute. Okay. That's what the problem is, because when you're watching on camera and you watch these guys do 37 pump fakes, or Gannon Burr do 37 pump fakes right in front of his lie and wait for a correct win and all these things, that's not fun to watch. That's what they're trying to fix. It's when you say pace of play and a hole, there's other things that create backups. It's not this guy waiting on his lie, because really it's a rules violation to me when a guy sits over his putt for a minute to make a putt. That's benefiting him against the field. Meandering down the fairway and doing this lottie-dottie bullcrap is not benefiting him, in my opinion. That's just making things slow, if that makes sense. It's the person who's standing behind their lie and clearly cheating because they're taking way over 30 seconds to throw a shot. To just throw a shot with nothing in the way. That's the actual problem. Okay. I don't believe it is the pace of play, like you're saying, just because it's taking forever, the long round. Because they might get there quicker and take a minute, while the other guy checking this, doing this, and he's taking the same amount of time. That guy, to me, is not trying to bend the rules in his favor, if that makes sense.
To me, I feel like you have to work with the resources that you have available to you. And if it's really true that it's only a few players that this caused this issue, and we don't want to get into a habit of punishing the field for the mistakes of the few players, and we only have a handful of marshals or officials on the course, there's a system that I think that's already created. I know we have people always harp on disc golfers for saying, let's look at golf and stuff like this, but there's a system at play that I think makes it easier for the PDGA, within the confines of the resources they have and the conditions of it only being a few players, that they shouldn't be making more rules and complicating it. They should start having a system where they look at the overall pace of play of the card and having to match the pace of play set forth by the tournament. And if there's an issue with a card getting behind, the marshals proactively going over that card and saying, guys, what's the problem? And the guys all say, Gannon keeps taking a minute and a half on all of his putts. And then the marshal's like, all right, I'm going to put the card on a time violation, but I'm watching. I'm here to watch Gannon. And they stay with the card. And Gannon has to get stroked once every single time he's on the putting green to make that card speed itself up. Great. But if they get there and it's like, hey, the card is meandering and everyone's taking a long time, then guess what? Everyone's going to get penalized if we don't speed this up.
Oh, that works. But guess what? We don't have a bunch of marshals, dude.
Well,
Like Gannon has become a very, very fast player over the years compared to what he was. And why?
Mhm.
It's because he got singled out and he got stroked multiple times. And what did that force him to do? Now, did he get called and singled out and stroked by the players? Or was it marshals and embarrassment from being on featured cards and the public shaming him? Which one sped him up? I guarantee it's more of the latter, right?
Mhm.
I
Most
guarantee
likely.
it's more the latter, which means if that's the case, we're on lead card. And the people who are playing for the tournament don't want to sit there and go, okay, yeah, I'm gonna call him on a time violation and I'm gonna stroke this guy. You know what that makes you look like? A sissy. It makes you look like it does. And it takes you out of your game because you're like, oh, well, of course he's got to do whatever he can to beat Gannon Burke. Does anybody want to do that? No. So then the first point where you're like, oh my gosh, just call the thing. No, it's not that easy. It isn't that easy to just go out there and be like, okay, I'm the guy who called everybody on everything because I'm the rules guy. That's what we're trying to fix. And it's
I
a
agree
slow
with you, yeah.
process. It's a slow process. But guess what? A slap on the wrist right now is exactly kicking the bucket a little bit down the street. But if I call said guy and say, "Hey, that's your first extension," he's going to speed up. He's going to speed up, and guess what? It's not. There's not going to be animosity as much as if he gets stroked. Am I right?
Well, there's a hypothetical.
No.
If he doesn't speed up, then there might be, because now you have to call him on a second one.
No. Because then you call him. Eventually, he gets stroked, but he got warned twice and a slap on the wrist twice, and then he has it coming. That's he can't blame the people. You get
True,
what I'm
but
saying?
if he uses them naturally, then there is no warning. Like if in the first 5 holes he uses them correctly, then the next time it isn't a slap on the wrist.
Sure. But what I'm saying is yes or no. If I call him and I say, "Hey man, your first extension's out the door, bud."
Yeah.
Is he going to be pissed at me?
He might, because now he's got one less.
As pissed as I'm like
not as pissed as.
Then, okay, so then how does this not work?
It doesn't work when you take away the second one, and then he still plays slow again, and you got to think, okay, we're on hole 17. It's a second shot. He's taking a minute. He doesn't.
Is it easier to call?
Left.
Is it easier to call after you've done it twice? That's all I'm saying. Does it get easier to call this said person after these things, Brody? Does it?
No.
Now, let me.
I don't.
It might be for one or two players, but over the aggregate of the field, I don't think
having to call someone 3 times in a round, is it easier?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I think it's easier just ripping the Band-Aid and doing it once than having to do it 3 times.
I hear you. Okay, so now is it easier to do that, or is it easier to stroke them 3 times? Now, what kind of card are you going to be playing with? I'm asking you.
At the end of the day, Yuli, the whole thought is, if you are someone that struggles, if you are someone that struggles with confrontation, if everyone knows going into it they have 2 time extensions, and you come in and take one of those away on hole 1. I don't care. Yes, does it hurt that player a little bit less than stroking them? Sure, but is it still awkward? It's still awkward. I'm saying for people that go with confrontation, it's still awkward to go up to someone saying, "I'm taking something away from you because you broke the rules."
Which one's worse? I'm asking.
I mean, well, I think this is worse now too, because now I have to pull my phone out. Because when they say time extension, now I got to pull my phone out to see.
I mean, it's going to be this whole phone thing to make it seem a little worse than it is. Like it's
but how are you literally going to pull your phone out now every single time?
It's not going to be on hole 1. Like you're gonna see the guy taking forever all the time, which is only a few players. And then
Well,
yes, I've seen phones out all the time.
right.
When it gets to the point, Brody, we've played this game for how long? We've played this game for how long? And how many times have you picked out a phone? I've done it 10 times ever from a guy who did it from hole one all the way into whatever. And then I had to be like, I got to bring this out so it's official.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
It
It almost feels like you're at a disadvantage and you shouldn't have to do it. And it should be a marshal's job to make sure every group.
Yeah, we don't have them.
But
like,
that's what do you think
great
is okay? Here we go. What do you think is harder? Here we go. This is for the audience. This is for people listening. This is for everyone. This is a question for everyone. If you're listening after the fact, tweet me, drop on the comment. What do you think is more challenging? A professional player that has relationships with another professional player, having to time them and figure out if they're going over their time, then going up to that person and having a conversation, either taking away their time extension or giving them a stroke violation if they do it too many times. Is that harder to do versus a marshal that their job is solely paid by the players to be able to make sure fairness is done in tournaments, for them to be on their phones with the score and look
on every card
when there is to be on their phones and their leaderboard and just scroll through to see where people are and go, oh, there's a gap. They're on hole 7. The group in
that
front
doesn't
of them,
always work. That doesn't always work.
I'm just saying, what is easier?
What
is easier?
That's solving. That's
what
again
is easier?
That's solving pace of play. That's not solving one guy. You could be playing super fast, and our whole card's playing fast, and there's one guy taking time after time after time and going over his limit.
And that marshal comes to you and says, hey, you are on the clock, and if you're playing fast, you're not going to get stroked. The guy that's going slow is going to get stroked.
How does he know?
Because they're
There's
with you now.
Every hole. They have to be at every hole. Yes.
But no, Yuli, you just said this. There's only a handful of people that play slow. So if that's the case, when you see that gap, because it's not
what if there's no gap? That's my point. What if there's no gap?
Then they're keeping up with pace of play and there's nothing to complain about. If there's no gap in every group.
Yes, there is. I'm not going to sit there and watch somebody pump fake 40 times and take 2 minutes on a putt.
But if they do that and then you walk to the next tee and there's a group there and you have to wait for them and they do that the next hole, in my opinion, pace the timing of the round should solely be the group, how they play. And the first group off, obviously in our situation, you have FPO, whatever, but there's normally a gap between MPO and FPO. The first group off, there still be, hey, they need to be at this hole at this time. And if they're not, then someone needs to come and tell them you guys are behind pace of play. If you go to any golf, like reputable golf course, they will have people come up to you and tell you you're playing too slow. That needs to be done across the board. And so if I'm someone that's like, hey, I got super nervous on this death putt. I took an extra 45 seconds on this death putt, but I'm one of the fastest players. And there was one moment that I took 45 seconds extra, but we are keeping up with the pace of play with the group in front of me.
I'm in on that.
There's no issue. Yeah, there's no issue. And so that's my thing is the easiest thing here is literally the PGA has all the information on their phone. Just look and say, hey, there's a 2, 3, 4 hole gap. This happens all the time at the end. And this is what really pisses me off, Yuli. Tournaments actually get worse now because we are no longer playing in a world where the people on the last card can win. We're playing in the world that second card can win. We're playing in a world that third card can win. And when second and third card are done playing their rounds half an hour before the final card even gets to like 17, that's the pits. It's literally the pits. It's the worst. The card in front should be on hole 18. The lead card should be on hole 17. And so when the lead card's on hole 15 and second card's in hole 18, there needs to be a marshal telling them you're on the clock. You're playing too slow.
Dude, I listen, I am in 100% with, I don't want there to be a time thing. I want people to play. I want it to go. I'm with you. My point is that's not a world we live in. It's not.
We just know your solution though of everyone playing 30 seconds isn't going to solve the problem. PJ Mike, what do you have?
Brody, would you be okay with a card of 3 Brodies and 1 Cupcake? Do you think that's a fair scenario?
So
Where you guys are playing quick, you're walking up quick, you're taking your time, and then Cupcake's taking 2 minutes per shot, but you're keeping pace because the other 3 people are playing faster.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Like, are you okay with that?
yeah, I would. This is a great hypothetical. I would say the 3 Brodies are at a great disadvantage. I would agree with that. That is probably not great, and I guess in that scenario, it would have to go to what Yuli was saying earlier about Gannon, of where you would have to put a bunch of pressure on this guy publicly to play faster. And then the other scenario too would be he's not always going to play on a card with 3 of the fastest people. And so there are going to be other times where he is going to be stroked, right?
So, yeah, so I think the idea of once there's gaps, having a marshal come, time everything, that makes total sense. But there's still going to be times when, like card we just mentioned, there's still one player playing extremely slow, way slower than everybody else, but they're happening to keep pace. Or this is probably soft and like you guys said, but pressuring the other 3 players to maybe even play a little quicker. They see the group behind them, they see themselves falling back.
Yeah.
They might, without realizing it, start playing faster, even though it's
Try
one
to
guy's
keep
fault. So that would work in some scenarios. But one thing we could do is, and golf did this, if there's serial offenders, they're like on probation for hole one.
I like that.
They have someone on them. And again, we don't have that many marshals, so I don't know how that would work, but you earn the right to not have a marshal with you if you're the very serial slow players. So, after a 2 tournaments, if you've gotten complaints on yourself, whether you guys kept pace or not, that person immediately is going to be being timed from the beginning of their tournament until they prove that their average time per shot has gotten reasonable. But I think you can't just go by pace of play. And I understand what Yuli's saying. I hear what Yuli's saying in that this isn't necessarily, and maybe I think Yuli might be thinking this, and maybe the PDGA is not even thinking this, but I totally get what Yuli's saying of this isn't really to fix pace of play. This is to fix the dude you're staring at for 2 minutes, waiting to shoot, and whether you're keeping pace or not, that's a disadvantage for everybody on that card. And so that makes sense for this. This rule makes sense for that.
Well, I'm also in agreement with Yuli. I'm in agreement with you too. Like watching Gannon, Nico, Cupcake, if they're on coverage and we're watching them
it's horrible.
For a minute, it's terrible. Now, watching you and Brad go back and forth on what you should throw, and we can hear that conversation. If that's a minute, that's very exciting. That's interesting. But yes, watching just the pump fake putts, I'm with you on that. It's just one of those things, Yuli. It's a really hard rule because, like I said, I don't want people to have to constantly be pulling out their phones and starting their stopwatch. And ultimately, that's the only way for this to make sense is like literally if every player is just walking around, or, like back when we used to have like, we don't do it anymore, but I thought it was the stupidest thing ever when we had like one scorecard and it's like, I'll do the front 9. And then you pass it to someone. They're like, I'll do the back 9. I thought that was the dumbest thing ever. Maybe we have to do that with the shot clock. Is like, I'll do the first 6 holes. Well, I'm going to shot clock everyone. And then someone else has to do it.
Part of the reason too that I'm okay with this is the fact that in my career, I've been really good at not stroking people, but letting them know. And it has helped tremendously of being like, hey man, like you got to speed it up. And then I didn't have a problem again. And then if they do go over it, then you give them another little love tap and being like, dude, like this is getting ridiculous. And I'm not trying to stroke anybody because I'm 100% with you. Like I want to take my time. I don't want to get in a situation to where I'm rushing a shot that isn't going to be very entertaining because it's hitting 3 feet in front of me and 3 feet in front of me. But when it took me an extra 15 seconds to be like, oh, I could just throw it to here. I walk out, I see a landing zone. I could just pop it to here and it's fine. And yeah, like I said, I think it's a broader rules fix. It's not just a pace of play thing, and it's also could be a pace of play thing, but it's also to fix just the ultimate slow guys who you just sit there and watch forever. I also think it's a huge problem. There's people out there, almost everybody, who don't want to call it, who don't want to have
Yeah.
that on there. Like it's just the way that it is. Because unfortunately, the most of the people who take a lot of time are people that take offense to you telling them, hey, and they're big personalities to where if I talk to them, I know there's going to be a problem anyways. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like these are the guys that you talk to them. They're already grumpy. They're already taking 2 minutes because they can't pull the trigger. They're struggling with whatever they're struggling with. Like that, you know what I mean? Like that's not a situation. It takes a certain personality, a strong personality to be able to combat that of being like, well, I can get over that. That's not a problem. Like,
Can we agree to this though? Because I think we can all, hopefully, we can all come to agreement and move on to the next topic. Because if we are saying, Yuli, that this is just tackling those super slow players that we know who they are,
it's doing
and
two things.
if it's tackling that issue, and the PDGA though is still thinking about, because I think we all agree, pace of play isn't the reason for pace of play being so slow as it is. It's not because of Gannon putting for a little bit. It's not because of a couple of these people, maybe Cupcake because he does it almost like every putt. It's not because of that. It's mainly because of people taking forever to get to their discs, people taking forever to know it's their turn to throw, people like talking for 20 seconds on the tee pad about, oh, okay. Like if the PDGA is saying, hey, we know that's an issue too. We're trying to solve this little problem over here, and now we're going to tackle this. I'm on board. But if they think that this little time extension thing is going to solve all of that, then I'm not on board.
No. I think there's two different things also in line here. I want a time extension, Brody. I think that exactly what you said. If I'm in the fairway and I have a big shot and I can say, hey, time extension, and talk to Brad about my distances and have a moment at the end of the tournament where I have a putt to win and I say, hey, I'm taking my extension now, just so you guys know. And now I have 60 seconds to sit over this putt to win 10 grand or a major. Like that can be very entertaining. And I think I deserve to have a couple times when I'm in the woods and I'm deep in there and I have nothing and I time extension. I need to walk out here and see and get a number and make sure that I throw the correct shot so I can get out of here. I think that that's beneficial to the game in general right now with the rules that are applied, because they're not going to do the latter of being like, hey, take as much time as you want. You know what I mean? And so all's I'm doing by promoting this rule is by giving a little extra time to people who deserve it and also making it easier for other people to call people who don't.
Up to a point.
I'll be curious at the end of the year. They said they're going to pull the data to see how many people actually make these calls. So I'll be curious to see what that looks like.
How will they know?
You have to put it in the scoring app when you call violations.
But they won't know if how will they know if I say, hey, Gary, that's a time extension. I'm taking one of those.
I don't know. The PGA made a promise, and that's solid gold, Brody.
See, to me, that's the one that matters the most. Is how many times did someone take away someone's time extension?
Yep.
Yeah. All
right. Well, I don't know how they're going to figure that one out. It only took them a couple months to get the scoring up there for us. Shout out to you, Disc. All right. Gary, we're going to have you come back on here in a second for King of the Hill. It's time for me to relax and have Yuli come after you. I went a little bit too hard. Maybe I didn't go hard enough. Who knows? We'll see. You guys let me know. It is funny to see how soft some people are in the comments, Yuli. When I get I get passionate about something. God forbid I'm passionate about something.
I think they all love, man.
All right, let's talk about something that we are passionate and dominant about. Oh my gosh. After Champions Cup, we didn't get to talk about this last week. We did a little rope-a-dope there. Shout out to our guy, Simon, Dark Horse coming. I told you, Yuli. I said something about Simon. I think he's going to pop off here. He's going to pop off. Taking second place. Anakin, very nice there. 8th place, getting us 3 points. Missy Gannon, I think that was obvious with Kristen not being in the field. I think she was the sure bet there. Also, a nice pick with Own coming in second as well. And we have, or am I seeing the right? Yeah. And then we have, this is Champions Cup. Do we have, was that the right one?
Hey, that was the right picks. Yeah, it just says Champions Cup for some reason above it. Yeah, those are our picks for sure.
Yeah, it's not Champions Cup. It's okay. Maybe it's just not updated. These are the right picks, but this is not Champions Cup. This is from last week. So with that, we ended up extending the lead a little bit. We now have a 72.2 point lead against these guys.
Yeah.
Wow. So going into this week, I think looking at the field here, Yuli.
Yeah.
Let's go FPO first. Let me pull it up real quick. Okay. So the big names that are at this event, we have Holland.
Mm-hmm.
We have Missy. We have Own, Kat, Ella, Paige. I'm not really going to go further down than that. So I think, oh man, in an event like this,
you gotta go Holland.
So that takes our 4. And then I think the next one I like there, I mean, she's playing well. I think you got to go Paige at that $2.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
And then Ella.
I'm with you. Yeah,
I would say
100%.
Ella or Cat Merch would be my next. But I like Ella here. The only other is Cadence in here. She just won an MA1 event.
I think we either go Holland, Missy, Paige, or we go. I would rather go Holland, Missy, Paige.
Oh, I like that better actually. Now I think about it. Yeah, let's do that. Holland, Missy, Paige, lock it in. I would not be shocked if they have the same picks here. All right, MPO side. This is going to be a little bit trickier. All right. Usual suspects at the top. We've got Gannon, Ricky, Isaac, Paul, Calvin, Ezra, Kyle, AB, Adam, Proctor, Simon, Marweed. The question is, obviously the big question is do we do a 7, a Gannon, 2, and a 1? I think for an event like this, I don't think it makes sense to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, is it crazy to go Eagle at the 2 and then pick 2 guys in the 4? I mean, he's won at the Portland Open. He's been playing.
I think we go either Eagle or Simon.
I like that.
And then we go.
This is tough.
And then we we have to go AB.
I don't hate it.
And Ricky.
Ricky over Paul and Calvin. Gosh, why do I think Calvin's going to have a good week? Is he?
Is Calvin going to beat Ricky heads up this week? Think about that.
I don't know. I have a weird feeling about Calvin right now.
Then let's go Calvin, AB.
Nicholas isn't there.
Yep.
That's why I didn't name him. Untrustworthy shelving. Sorry, brother. All right. Let's put it in there. We haven't picked Calvin out. Did we pick Calvin once and he didn't? He let us down. He might.
Yeah.
What about Ezra Robinson? Are we sleeping on Ezra Robinson here?
Yeah, we've been sleeping on him all year. Also Isaac. I mean, we've been sleeping on all these guys.
Not picking Macbeth is also tough here because
Yeah.
I feel like he's almost a guaranteed top 10 this year. He's been playing so good. But if we're trying to pick the winner, which you get a lot of points picking the winner, do we see Calvin hoisting the trophy up at Glendoveer here, Yuli? Or do we see AB or Eagle?
Man, AB coming off that win. Remember, he won like 4 in a row. The last one that he got. I just have a hard time not picking him here.
You pick the third. We're going AB, Eagle. You pick the third.
We're going AB and Eagle.
Yeah.
Man, I think it's been too long for Ricky. You got a feeling about Calvin. I got a feeling about Ricky.
All right. We'll ride with Ricky. All right. Ricky, AB, Eagle. Lock it in. All right. We're locked in. All right. Everyone's favorite segment, King of the Hill. Gary's back. Yuli, take a deep breath. Let's see what Gary's got for us this week. I'm sure there's no controversial picks here.
You know, it's a real tough week out there for some people.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm thinking about people like Ninja Lane last week or 2 weeks ago. 100,000%. There's no way that AB should be above Antala. Disc Golf FA said absolutely no way Barella is above Niklas. Scott Davis said no one should be above Antala, making 0 mistakes. That Cascade Challenge proved a real point for me now, didn't it? So let's go.
Gary coming with the receipts.
I'm telling you. Let's go into the FPO group here. You're gonna see a lot of similar places and names and people and stuff this week. Really, when it comes to the Queen of the Hill here.
Before we move forward, before we move forward,
all right.
Is this a prediction hill? Is that what we're trying to say here? No. I'm asking you for the audience because I'm part of them, and I need to know what you're doing here. Is this? I think these guys are going to play well after this, or is it? What have you done for me now?
Yeah. See, the thing is you can wrap decisions around science and stats, and those things are all great, but every now and then you just got to have that gut feeling about the way players are ranked. And sometimes, you don't measure out how much salt you put in the sauce, how much pepper. You just take it and you put it in, and you know it because you've done it 100 times. So that's why we're here. We're cooking out here, Yuli. We're not doing gastronomics.
Yuli, I can help with this. You asked if it's what they've done or what they're going to do, and the answer is yes.
Always yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I look at this, Yuli, as like Gary's resume for the PDGA. That's how I look at it.
When it comes to how I look at the people here, it's a combination of a number of things. I look at the finishes. I look at what have you done for me lately. I look at the events that are kind of coming up a little bit, and I kind of feel like, where does this person exist on kind of the power ranking in the league right now? I don't look solely just at elite events. I think it's important to see what happens on the off weeks. They carry a lot less weight than elite events and everything else. Majors are heavy. Like you said earlier yourself, you quoted it. I want to see what they do at majors. That's important. So I look at that stuff too.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. But yeah, so bottom rung here for Queen of the Hill, it's the typical lineup. The only real faller here is that Jessica Weiss fell down one layer, and that's because there's somebody above her who I think has been a bit more consistent, at least recently, giving us some better wins. The one big name here is Haley King. We haven't seen her play in a while. I keep saying this, but just when you look at everyone else below her, even though she's only played a few events, her performance stands here. When she plays her next event, if she doesn't play well, then she'll probably fall off the thing here. But moving up to tier number 5, you can see the person who replaced Jessica Weiss is Annika Sten, who just has been, I think, giving us better disc golf recently. I mean, if you look at her her last finishes, she had 7th at Champs Cup, 8th at the Cascade Challenge, and 6th at Konopiste, which, I think we're really seeing more consistency. That's right. Rules for King of the Hill. There are no rules. We're seeing more consistency in her game on and off the course. And I think that's kind of where a lot of the players on tier 5 are at when you look at them. Is there's consistency. We haven't seen like a really crazy push by any of them, but they're solid performers. And moving up to tier 4, you're going to see we don't really have any change here, because when you look at the field as a whole, Own and Cat and Cadence and Paige kind of all exist on this level. The only one who you could make an argument for with the recent play is Paige. Paige has been playing really well. I didn't expect her to play as well as she did at the Cascade Challenge, because it's not really a course that I would have expected her to kind of pop off at. But still, I can't put her above any of the 6 that come above these 4 here. Kat Merch had her first non 10th place or better finish at the Cascade Challenge. Own was a solid performer, and Cadence is doing Cadence things, but none of them rank above in my mind Ella, Silva, and Evelina. Even though we haven't seen Evelina play as much recently, I think when you look at her body of work this season, only finishing outside of 10th place one singular time and having a podium finish, she definitely belongs there. And then Silva, I feel like, is going to eternally be living in some people's shadows, but she's right there. Her last 4 events are 4th, 2nd, 4th, and 2nd. And then Ella, I think just by nature of the fact that she does have that win this year, which is really, really big for her. And she's got, another podium finish and some solid finishes there. But same thing for tier 2. We make no change here. It is going to be Holland and Missy. They both belong in that spot. I mean, Missy has now rattled off 2 wins. So I think Missy, if you're going to rank these 2, I think Missy has a good argument for being probably the higher ranked person on this tier. And if she were to take down a win this weekend, that'd be a pretty big deal. But Holland is still, when you look at her entire season, has not finished outside the top 5, has been a consistent staple at every event she's been at. Now, I will say, if you're going to look at the season and say she hasn't finished outside the top 5, her last 2 events have been 5th and 5th. So she's really due for a good performance here. If she wants to keep up that narrative that she is the number 2 best FPO player in the world. And that's because the number 1 best FPO player in the world is still, in my mind, Kristen. We got three first places, 2 second places. Second is her worst finish this year. And we're just seeing continued good evidence of her play. I think coming into the European majors that we're going to see here with the Worlds and the European Disc Golf Festival, I think we're going to get a very clear stamp of who is going to be number 1. I mean, if we go out there and Holland takes down one of those and puts down a great performance of the other, and Kristen doesn't win either, or Missy does something, maybe we have a shakeup here at the top of the pyramid. But until I see more, I just don't think I can change these top 2 or 3 tiers. Thoughts?
How close is Hannah to moving up? Because I feel like she's been playing really well lately.
She definitely has been. Her last 3 finishes have been 7th at the Kansas City Wide Open, 10th at Champs Cup, and 8th at the Cascade Challenge. Her performance before then was a little shaky, so I'd say she's probably the next person to sort of pierce the group above her. But I mean, still, even then, you talk about Owen Scoggins, so I think has been more consistent. Kat Merch only 1 finish outside the top 10, and Cadence has been solid. But Cadence's last 3 finishes are 5th, 2nd, and 19th. So I guess you could argue that the 19th at Champs Cup is worse than what Hannah's been able to do. But I think collectively as a season, Cadence's body of work has been better.
Yeah, not a lot of movement.
No,
really only 1 drop, 1 move up.
Yeah, tiers 1 through 4, I don't think really got a shake, and maybe that's because we saw the field split, so there wasn't a lot of great head-to-head matchups going on to really determine who moved what slot or different. And everyone kind of finished where they're at on this list anyway.
And the top 4 spots are they're always flip-flopping in the top 10. It's not like they're losing a lot of top 10 finishes to the other FPO players.
How long can Evelina stay on that tier and not play? Where does the not playing come into play here?
I would say probably 1 more event, because she's now missed 2 events. So I'd want to see. Is she signed up for Northwest, or is she staying over there in
No.
Europe? So she's not going to be playing this upcoming weekend. We're going to have to wait to see her until we get to Ale. So I would say she's going to have to come out of Ale and put down a really killer performance. Or if any of the 4 below her do
Trip up.
something pretty
Oh,
incredible,
better.
I think
Yeah.
she'll be the first one on that tier to probably take a step down.
Makes sense. All right. Yeah, I think this looks pretty good.
How many Missy wins this weekend? Is there any world where she takes the top spot? Like, if you win the major, then back-to-back tournaments, one being Elite Series Portland.
I think it's tough because Kristen's not in the field. That's the thing.
Yeah, but okay, so she could just chill up there forever while somebody just wins all the big tournaments.
No,
not,
but
not forever. I think we have to get to.
Tough.
Yeah, I think we have a couple really big events. I mean, coming up for the ladies, especially because you have, what is it, 3 majors for them across 6 weeks that they're playing
Yeah.
in.
Is that
So, I mean,
real?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So we're gonna see a lot of shakeup between the 3 of them. But I would argue, I think you have a good point there, Yuli. Where is if Missy does get first again, we're gonna have to start questioning of like how valuable are wins without Kristen in the field and one major win with Kristen in the field compared to what Kristen's been able to do. But if Kristen also keeps winning at the events that she goes to, I think she kind of stays there. But if like Kristen would have finished in 3rd this week, and then Missy comes out and gets the big win this upcoming weekend, I think you could make an argument, that Missy's the one you want to bet your big money Missy on. So,
sure. All right. Pretty standard here. Pretty standard. All right.
I like it. I actually like this.
We might have a little bit more
nice.
movement here on this next one.
Cool. Yeah, jump. Yeah, so Casey White, unfortunately,
this is kind of sad. He's get his own. I don't know.
Sorry to do it.
We might need to find a different way of doing this, Gary. He gets his own slide.
Yeah, or we'll have to do like a stuck at base camp kind of thing. He's out there. He's trying to climb the hill. He's just not ready. He needed a little bit more oxygen. That test climb didn't go so well for him.
All right, off the hill.
Jumping up to tier 6. I have one guy in green here. We have Maori jumping on the list, and this might be a controversial take because some people are going to put an asterisk next to his win because it was over in Europe and the number of players that he's playing against, whatever. If any of you people out there in the chat say that his win is discounted and you were the people last week who said Niklas is better than everybody, he should be at the top. Well, guess what? Maori beat Niklas. So I think having a win on the Pro Tour at an Elite Series, regardless of how strong the field is, there were some solid players there. He definitely deserves to make it onto the mountain for that because he beat the brakes off that course this weekend, whether you want to say it was easy or not.
Well, it's also someone, too, that has a little bit of a history, right? Like if it would have been like a dark horse person that won that event, I don't think you're putting him on that level. But this is arguably one of the best European players that hasn't come over to the States yet.
Yeah.
Other than a couple, I guess someone.
No, he belongs. He definitely belongs. Yeah.
He had a poor USDGC showing last year, but otherwise, every European event he showed up to, he was competitive, top 10 at the European Open last year.
And Yuli, we know USDGC is not a course that you just show up and play your first time and play well.
Yeah.
It's a course that it's one of those courses that you actually have to know how to play it.
Yeah, he's definitely on my list of players that as we go through this European swing might have one of the most interesting arguments for where he lands on this list compared to the rest of the field, because he could rack up a few wins at some of these events.
Oh, if he wins, could you imagine if he wins like Worlds? How wild that would be!
Insane.
Just like,
well, he went bogey free for his 40 under this weekend, and I think he was like 58% from C2. So everything was clicking for him.
The heck is that?
All over the place. It was crazy to watch.
I wonder how many time extensions he had though.
But we have Evan Smith and Austin Turner falling down a little bit. Evan Smith, it's not necessarily because he's been playing terrible. He's just, once again, not playing as good as the people above him, or they have a better argument to be there. Austin Turner has been playing solid, but we know he has that bit of an injury issue, I think. That's why he ended up caddying for AB at the Cascade Challenge. So a little bit of question as to where he would fall on this list, but I didn't want to move him off the hill. Go up to tier 5. We have a new member of tier 5, and that's Simon, based upon his last 2 performances. And, that argument that can be made that Simon could legitimately fall anywhere on this hill, depending on what his putter's doing that weekend, and we saw I think 3 of the most incredible C2 putts of the season, a couple maybe of the past couple of years at the Cascade Challenge, but I think he belongs moving up onto tier 5. And we see Adam, who has started the year really high up on this hill and has
Was
just
he on
kind
the
of slowly.
second tier at one point?
Yes, I believe he was on the second tier at one point early in the season when he had he started his year out like 9th, 1st, and 6th, so he was a pretty solid player. But since then, he's gone 83rd, 5th, 37th, and he's just kind of taking it easy right now, which I think he's a really solid player. But this is kind of typical of what we see Adam do seasons where he'll come out and have kind of a hot start or have a moment and kind of fall off a little bit, but he will come back to relevance again in events. I know he certainly will do that. So, but yeah, he's definitely one of the more volatile players on this list. I think Ezra makes a claim to stay where he's at, not move up, not move down. You know, I think he's the next guy up for the win if he can kind of knock out whatever that final round jitter he has. But Sully stays the same place, and Marweed stays there too. Marweed might have been the hardest one because he is the most peaks and valleys player probably on this list in terms of his finishes. I mean, he literally goes from 5th place to 60th to 5th place to 40th.
Yeah, how good is Marweed, Yuli?
He's fantastic. I mean,
he's an interesting cat.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, man. He's just he's one of those guys that he doesn't miss fairways. He's not throwing it far. He makes everything. And when you do that over a long period of time, like he's a dangerous character to play against because he's not making mistakes. Like his sidearm's so accurate, it really keeps him in the fairway. And then you just get over to the green somehow, and then he's making a lot of those putts. So it's one of those guys who, you know, if you're playing like heads up against him, it's like, dang, when am I gonna shake this guy? It doesn't look great. It's not flashy. He's got that demeanor that there's no, there's no emotion, and then he's just banging 50-footers in your eyeball the whole time.
Yeah, I wonder if with him, if it's more of a course thing, like certain
Oh,
courses
for sure it is. For sure.
Suit his eye, because it is a wild thing to be, because it's not like he just gets hot, Yuli, and like, oh wow, Marweed just popped off. Like, no, he like has multiple tournaments where he's like a top 10 player. And so it's got to be just like a course thing. Like certain courses set up well for him and certain courses don't.
His 3 best finishes this year are literally every other. It's at Waco, Music City, and then at the Champs Cup. And he was the one I was staring down, like Evan Smith, Marweed. I gave the nod to Marweed because of the podium finish at the major. I think that says a little bit more about where he belongs on the list. But based on his back and forth ping pong finishes, he's due for a top 5 finish this weekend. So that's kind of what he's been up to all year. But heading on up to tier number 4, we find ourselves with Calvin and Eagle being the 2 movers here. Eagle moving up because if you just look at his general play recently, I think he's starting to make a statement for being in contention, I think, every single week. His last 3 finishes are 9th, 13th, and 6th at the Cascade Challenge, making a nice push during the final round. So Eagle's definitely coming up, and I think the healthier he looks, the better he looks, the more dangerous he is. And I've always will say this, that a healthy Eagle just makes the tour more fun and enjoyable to watch. And then Calvin, I know I said he was like the perennial tier 3 guy, but just can't seem to get over that hump. And tier 3 is getting too good.
Thank God we didn't pick him this week, Yuli.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's, like you said, he's your top 10 guy.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very strange because I at a certain point you can make the argument like, okay, the field's gotten better. That's why his finishes are not what they used to be. And maybe that is the case. I don't know. Or is there something going on with Calvin that he hasn't been able to get back to where he was like literally a top 3 machine, like literally every event, top 3, top 3, top 3. Yeah. I just feel like that consistency is not there.
Exactly. And to answer your question in the chat, Nick, Calvin did just win a tournament. He beat Cupcake. So That I don't take too much stock in the win at LVC when it comes to this list compared to the people above him, who I think all would have been in that field would have been contenders to beat Calvin.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we see another like push from Calvin because he's very exciting. I feel like too, if you go and look at some of his better finishes, I think he was also going into that final round where he was like not in contention and then goes and shoots a 13, 14 under and jumps up a bunch of spots. So I just feel like we haven't seen him up where he used to normally be.
Yeah, I would be very curious to see like some deep, dive statistics on someone like Calvin who does have those breakout rounds when he's not really in contention. Like, where would he be if he didn't have those, hot round? He's so hard to place.
His most famous round was USDGC when it was like that hurricane, and he was wearing that yellow polo that like ended up stretching down to his knees because of how wet it got. And like everyone was struggling that day, and he was like, he shot like double digits or something ridiculous, and like jumped all the way back into the lead, I think, at one point. So he is definitely someone that I think he needs a difficult course that he can maybe win on Chase card or something. I don't know.
Do you think losing Jonesboro was a tough one for him because he typically really performs well at Jonesboro?
Yeah, I haven't talked to him at all, I think. I mean, I haven't been on tour this year, so I haven't really talked to him that much. Maybe we try to get him on the pod, Yuli, and just see
after his performance this week. He's probably going to shred since we didn't pick him because you felt it. You felt it.
If he shreds, we get him on the pod. Perfect.
Yep.
Hopefully Ricky just shreds a little more.
Speaking of Ricky, if we move up to tier 3, we're going to see the ascent of the Wysocki making it up here to the upper group. Yeah, his last 3 finishes, 2nd, 5th, and 3rd. My bold prediction, I don't know if you'd call it bold because how good he is I think he has another like top 5 finish this weekend. I think we're gearing up for his first win to be at the Preserve, where he has a lot of history there. So I think we're going to see another hot weekend from him this weekend, and he's going to come out and take on the new slightly altered Simon designed Preserve course and take his first win of the season. But I've got Nicholas on this tier as well. I mean, I know there's a lot of argument to be made that he's won twice, but if you look at the rest of his season, 45th, 19th, 21st, 28th, he had the 7th at Konopiste, but I think we can all agree, compared to the field, he should have finished way higher than that. But to say that his best finish, is 19th after his wins, it's just it's tough to place higher than that. I can't say any more than that. And that's because, coming off this huge win that those of us who really were in the know saw coming, we got AB here on tier 2, looking pretty fly. And then we have, Isaac Robinson, who's just sort of, I think, not silently, because he obviously won a major, but he kind of had a bit of a slow start, but he's been creeping back up, and now he's been in contention pretty much every event since Music City, because there he got 5th, then 6th, then 1st, and then 10th at the Cascade Challenge. And I think he was in it for a decent bit through the final round at Cascade. It just got so tight there that a few strokes was enough to knock you down a few positions. But in my opinion, AB and Isaac are there, which still leaves number 1. And I know there's going to be some flack for it, Gannon Burr. So the big question of, you look at someone like AB and how well he's played and like the recency of his win. You look at Isaac with the major win. And I just still think if you put all 3 of these guys side by side and you look at, their seasons, because Gannon's worst finish was 12th, very first event of the year. And then he went 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 4th, 5th. And it's just been so consistent with his play. I think still at the end of the day, if I had to put money on one of these guys to play well, especially coming into like this weekend where last year he won both the Beaver State Fling and the Portland Open. So he's got a lot of experience. And then we're also adding a 4th round, and we know how good Gannon can be when there's an additional round to be played. So I think he's still at the top, but we're now at a point where, AB goes out and wins this weekend. I think we might see Gannon take a tumble,
or Isaac
goes out and wins this.
Yeah.
I think there's
close.
Yeah.
Yuli, how you like the hill?
I like the list. I mean, I honestly really do.
Wow.
I ain't got no problems with the list.
I tried hard for you.
I don't think I have any arguments. I don't even think there's an argument for one of these guys to pass Gannon up. It's too consistent. He has a win on there. Yeah, I mean, it looks good. The only one would be Nicholas with 2, maybe but the recency bias is too good for Isaac and AB.
Yeah.
Yep. If Antela had a couple top tens along with his wins, I think it might be an easy switch to get there to tier 2. It's just the fact that he can't seem to get inside of 19th place aside from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
He's like, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't know how you don't put somebody who wins back to back on the top of the tier in this field, but that's a long time ago, and he's definitely moving down.
Well, I thought about that too, because you could make the argument that when he plays at his best, he could definitely be, at the top of the field. But I think if you're going to give the fairness of the argument of if Niklas plays his best, what about if everybody else played their best? And I still think that when Gannon plays his best, it's better than when Niklas plays his best. So, yeah, I agree. I think that the top of this group, I spend a lot of time thinking about because there's just it's so hard to
Yeah,
pick.
they're
between.
really good.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you can see right now between Gannon and AB how close they are. They are 15 shots apart.
Yeah.
They've thrown over 1,500 shots, and they're 15 shots apart. That's crazy. The other thing I was going to say about the list was Niklas kind of reminds me a little bit of like a higher ceiling Adam or Marweed this season, right? Like the inconsistencies, but it's just when he gets hot and plays well, he wins, right? And so we see that with Adam and Marweed of where, they have the ability to do it, but I don't know. I feel like his window of like his high and his low is a little bit higher than those guys. But we'll see. I mean, this next one's gonna be a big one, right? There's a lot of these guys. I think everyone's gonna be in the field except for Niklas, I believe.
Yeah.
Gannon's got 29 shots on Niklas there. And I mean, he's beaten him 5 out of 2 times. So, but yeah, everyone's gonna be there except for Niklas from here. So we might, Mari won't be there and Yessi, but there might be some more movement. And I think this tournament too, we might just see a first-time winner this season. Not like ever, but we might see someone get their first win of the season.
I think the one tiny little baby problem, if I had to just completely nitpick, would be Niemanen.
Yeah.
I think replacing him with Vino might have made a little sense. Vino over the last few tournaments has been playing pretty good, and even though it wasn't a stacked field over there in Prague, he beat the brakes off of Niemanen. So
yeah, I definitely think there's an argument to be made there because if you look at Konopiste, Vino in 4th and Yesa in 20th. Before that, you've got the nod goes to Yesa at Champs Cup and the Kansas City Wide Open and Music City Open. They tied at Waco. So yeah, I mean it's definitely close. I think if it's the what have you done for me in the past few weeks, I think I might like Vino's game. I think it's like another case of Vino's ceiling is probably higher and his floor is probably a little bit lower. But yeah, a lot of fun. I love that we're 2 years in a row now going into the first European, coming out of the first European event, and we're talking about another person. So like last year with the Copenhagen Open, it was Yesen, and then now this year we're talking about Mauri. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably an additional 5 guys that would be in that top 25 mix that are probably playing right now over in Europe exclusively. That could be in the top 25.
E2. I think his name's E2.
Yeah, they're all young, dude. They're all young.
Good, dude. He's really good.
That Dennis, is it Dennis or Augustine or
Augustin? Yeah.
Yeah, he's, I mean, there's a lot of really
Tuomanen and Yuli.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, a lot of really good up and comers there. All right, Gary, you made it out alive this week. King of the Hill.
Good stuff.
Well done. We'll have you back. We'll see what happens next week. All right, a couple of things to go over real quick. We've got some foundation jerseys. some of which
Okay.
just went on sale actually. So if you're looking to pick up any swag, you can go over to foundationdisc.com. I think we have a 24% off. I don't know why we went with the 24. I like it though. Makes you think. We got 24% off on the Foundation Mountain jerseys if you want to check those out. We also have Build Your Game stamps, Heat and Zone OSs. If you want to check those out. And we have the Return of the Shark custom stamp, a little Trevor Staub special. So go check those out, foundationdisc.com. You got anything going on?
No, man. Nothing special. I mean, same thing. I've been trying to push is Vessi.com/Yuli. You can get 15% off. That's I'm loving my shoes. I did the practice run with Jomez today, and they actually came out with the Cicada Tour Series, which is the same plastic that the rest of the Tour Series is on, and that's a nice collab they're doing with Discraft. So those are dropping on their website, I believe, on Friday.
Oh, nice.
So if you want to go support Jomez, go do that.
PGA Mike, you got anything for the PDGA? What should we be pushing for the PGA over here?
Nothing over here.
Memberships? Anyone? And go gift someone a membership.
No?
Go play in your local C tier event.
Yes, absolutely.
Flex starts, baby.
Oh man. All right, boys. Good show. Hey, I want to say this. If you don't like me getting passionate and yelling, go watch another podcast. There's many others that you can choose from. We ain't changing over here. Never have, never will. But we do appreciate everyone watching live. Give us your take. What are your takes on the rules? You like them?
Yep.
You don't like them? What do you think that they should be doing? And we'll read through the comments, see what sticks. And at the end of the day, the PGA has proven that you can't just bully them into doing what you want if enough people say. So if one of these rules you don't like, maybe start a Facebook group and you can start petitioning against it. But all right. Anything else, boys? We miss anything?
Nope.
Yuli, good luck this week, brother. Have fun out
Thanks,
there.
man.
And
Thank you.
we'll see everyone next week.
All right.